Welcome to ThugCrowd Radio. Please listen to this important disclaimer in its entirety. All participants of this ThugCrowd Radio episode are characters. None of the stories told during these episodes are based on facts, truth, or reality. All works of fiction displayed during this episode that resemble real-life situations are coincidental and are not meant to serve as guides or tutorials to commit any crimes in any country. Please consult an attorney for local laws and regulations. And as always, trust your inner criminal.
Yeah, the disclaimer made it. Sweet.
Hey. Hello.
Holla.
Hold on, I'm trying to do some audio tests. Can everybody say hi?
Carne asada.
Нет.
Yes. What up? Bird up.
Hello. Hello.
Oh.
Nux is usually the quietest. Nux, say something.
Turn everybody up a little bit. So, let me explain. So, I've just re-encoded everything in Python. Like all of our stream stuff is all now just a bunch of Python stuff. There's no like external APIs involved right now. It's all just the what's it called? Like the raw, like connecting with Discord and Twitch. But doing this all on Linux, and it's one of those things where you just don't know why. Like the Pulse audio driver just dies, or like some random bullshit happens. So try and double check. So if something weird happens, just let us know in the chat, and we'll be able to see. But be patient because we are trying a new thing out. But hi. Anybody else here?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Hi.
How are you, you gentle Asian?
I'm doing good. I am, doing my best after, I guess, what happened, which we should probably talk about. Yeah, so as everybody knows, we were kicked off of YouTube. As in, like, the account was just straight terminated on Saturday night.
Thanks, automation.
Do cyber for them.
The thing that
We'll
really
see a
pisses
couple-
me off about all of it is there's the vagueness, and even the vagueness in our appeal. They're like, yeah, we've decided to just not listen to you, and you're still banned,
Yep.
without any ever actually telling us what the fuck we did wrong.
Yeah, don't reply to this either. We'll go straight to the trash.
Yeah, I think what was crazy is like there's much terrible. We've spoken about like the content that's on YouTube, and we're hardly on the scale of like dangerous content or anything like that. You know what I mean?
And if anything, we're doing stuff to help. Whether you want to believe that black hat, gray hat type of help is help, it is. All right, we're not like sitting here DDoSing Proton Mail, for instance. We're kind of exposing methods that black hat and gray hat are going to use. It's up to the companies to decide to fix their shit. We're not like going to hold their hands unless they want to pay us a couple $100,000, and then we will help.
I
I'll
mean,
help. Swear by the G code. Man.
I get 6 digits out of that, right, Dan?
So yeah, I mean, it's hard because on the one hand, we just did very basic stuff. We're not like nothing that we do is very spectacular. Somebody has just been calling us soft chats a bunch in the chat, which is funny. We're not like bad guys. But what's funny is that like it happened so quickly, and the what it said was that there was like a community guidelines violation, that we like somehow evoked the ire of like the community itself by having deceptive content and spam and stuff. And I feel like it probably just falls under some generic category, but it's frustrating when you don't really know exactly, like there's not really an appeals process. And so there's been a lot of talk lately though about platform censorship in general, which has been, people like Alex Jones and some other people were harassing like Jack from Twitter, like in public, like I heard there was somebody who was harassing him as he was getting into like his car or limo to like get away from the court hearing the other day, and they were like, why did I get my Twitter verification check mark taken away? Can I get it back? Like, imagine asking the CEO of a tech company for like some arbitrary privilege back, like while at like a Supreme Court hearing.
Imagine being that deluded in yourself that you think you deserve an answer from the fucking Twitter CEO about why you don't have a little special mark next to your account. Get the fuck over it.
Imagine asking a CTO something they don't even know.
Yeah,
but I have 300 followers.
Jack was like, "What the fuck does that mean?"
So yeah, I mean, one of the things though that I feel like we had to kind of lay our stand our ground on was just the fact that, I mean, we obviously very much support freedom of speech. We also support freedom of tech companies to do what they want to do, because ultimately, if we were to say like, I don't know, I feel like this is a big argument that's been happening. People saying that like tech companies and the internet in general is somehow supposed to abide to the American Constitution and Bill of Rights, even though the internet is a global thing and it's been a global thing since it started. And so like it to me, I don't know, I feel like I would get really mad at YouTube and say like fuck YouTube, or be frustrated with them and not use their service. But I mean, I don't know, I've been on YouTube since 2005. Like I've been making videos, I like watch videos. I don't know, it just seems like it sucks that they don't want us to be on there, but at the same time that's their choice.
Not a person. There's not some malicious person there going, fuck these guys, I'm gonna end their channel right now because I don't like their content. That's absolutely hasn't happened, right? It's been someone's abusing like automated reporting, and some robot in the Philippines has just clicked the box and went, yep, okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like there's no human involved in this except for possibly a particularly insecure person that might.
Well, the robot in the Philippines is still a person, right?
Well, arguably.
Robots aren't people yet, dude.
I don't know. I'm not sure any Filipino people are actually human beings. The government's been in the Philippines a long time. They could be some kind of clones. Who knows?
Hard cold chat.
There, I honestly think we should put it out there for people to do what they can in at least making YouTube aware of the fact that they're starting to cross major boundaries into not just banning hate speech. Now they're just banning speech in general, because we have never once. I don't think we've dropped any 0 days yet.
I don't think they care. I honestly don't. At this point, they don't care. They've got partner channels. They've got YouTube Red. If you're not making them $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, then you can get fucked. That's how they feel. Goodbye.
I don't necessarily subscribe to that, because they have to. They cultivate the partners and they cultivate people with compelling content up to
They
that.
don't need to do that anymore. They've hired actors. They're making movies. They got they're a media company now. They're Rupert Murdoch. They're Fox.
I mean, do you really think that they have enough to sustain them throughout the years? They end up.
I don't think so, and I don't think they are aware that like Twitch and other alternate platforms are way more popular amongst young people these days because of what YouTube's doing.
Yeah, and I mean, to that point, Amazon has embraced the more kind of deviant shows, specifically ours. You'll notice that we still are pretty set to go on Twitch. Whether our days are numbered, I don't know, but at the moment, they seem to be people that are about free speech, to the extent that they allowed me to do a live stream of tour dumps with people's passwords that were slightly obfuscated, and it rubbed them internally the wrong way temporarily, but ultimately my argument prevailed, and
they unblocked you after you showed them you weren't doing anything, but they have definitely censored people. I believe Whitey Cracker got nuked several times
Really?
for some.
And then
No. So
shenanigans.
the Whitey Cracker, one of the Whitey Cracker nukes was actually he wrote a Twitch view booster bot on Twitch. But he then did have his account like unbanned, so you know. But that was pretty funny.
He bought it. He bought his account though.
He botted his own account on Twitch, like he wrote the bot.
I don't know. When you think about this, even from a company perspective, I think it's just a matter of time before the moral, switch flips.
So
To be quite honest.
So DNZ, just to go back on your comment for a minute. So are you telling me that all it takes to shut a YouTube channel down is to get $50 worth of bots to follow it and have it just fucking eliminated?
Yeah.
That sounds like zero to
I
me.
think that was Faith maybe that mentioned that, but yeah, I guess that's the way that
It's
it looks
trivial.
from our
trivial.
perspective. Yeah,
Why don't we
It's really, really easy. I mean, even to the point where if you've got a video and you're a new account and your video's got like 20 views and it's got 3 thumbs downs out of that 20 and somebody's reported it, that immediately flags it as, oh, this is almost certainly porn, or something, some
Speaking
mean
of
thing that's being
porn-
posted on 4chan that needs to be removed immediately. And so they do that. And
Yeah.
then if somebody reviews it during the appeals process, they don't know what they're looking at. They're like, what is this, hacking? Okay, no, that's banned.
Let's just point out though that that streaming media was actually all types of media delivery on the internet have been forefronted by porn. How do we deliver porn to people? Because that was since the 90s that's been the forefront, and I guess for streaming media, like
Funny you asked that.
cam girls are old.
Typically things like PornTube or YouPorn. I don't know. Have we ventured into that territory? I know we talked about it pretty briefly offline.
We've got all the accounts set up so that we can have ThugCrowd at Pornhub and ThugCrowd at
I'm gonna tell you,
Xvideos.
I'm getting sort of hard just thinking about the idea. So
Yeah, that's quite the spike you just introduced. I'm watching it right now.
So
Traffic's insane.
I think one could argue that geeks chatting about like crazy shit is somehow a turn on to some people, and prove me wrong. YouPorn.
Absolutely.
So
I will say that hacks are no longer floppy is potentially one of the worst Nmap tutorials I've ever watched.
And the best dad jokes you've ever heard.
Yeah.
I guarantee half the people in this chat are not wearing pants right now.
I'm wearing. Never mind.
So
Don't do that to me while we listen to
I'm
Dan.
wearing a
You
thong.
fucking asshole.
So the thing that after the initial ban happened when I found out about it, thank you ReadMe too for informing me because I didn't even know that it happened. But we all got into voice and we started talking about actual real solutions for what we should do. And so some of the people in chat are saying like that we can always migrate to our own platforms, and I think that that's honestly probably what will end up happening at the end of the day. I mean, as long as we could get some level of communication out, which there's infinite ways now, and there's also a ton of ways to make enough noise to be able to draw people to where you want them to go. But I think that it's just now a matter of trying to embrace the things that we do have. So luckily we started on Twitch. We've been able to utilize it for our purposes, and now we can just try to focus on that for a little bit while we venture out into other stuff.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cool ways to do things though. I mean, there's Instagram, Snapchat, there is Pornhub, although you can't stream to it, and I was trying to figure out how to, and I think I have to be Romanian or something. I don't know how to actually get to the sign up sheet.
We can use those cam girl sites.
Yeah, let's make that happen. Oh my god, can you? Yeah, on Chatterbait we host.
Or fucking what's the other one? The chat roulette.
But use already an ethnicity, so we're ahead there. That's all it takes.
All right.
White girls are boring.
Can you stream live? Can you stream live video to LinkedIn?
I don't know. Honestly, though, I think that there are, because of the ubiquity now of streaming video on pretty much every platform and the ability to embed stuff. I think that over the next few weeks, and you'll probably end up seeing our stream in a lot of weird locations. That's all I can say.
Like HTML5 video elements. If you could drag and drop like a piece of content into a modern HTML5 aware app, then that's trivial. Like embedding a video stream is trivial. So it really doesn't matter. I think if we have the alternative of having a backup of our videos somewhere that can be easily just WebRTC streamed directly in browser with like one line of code.
Maybe we
then
could
that's
for our viewers though. Like, so we've been looking into some various technologies that can give us a platform without giving a fuck. Very much kind of like some of these ISPs operate, where you commit things that are questionably ethical, and they'll send the abuse reports right to you instead of actually taking on action. And I think if we found some distribution platforms that
well,
we could kind of do.
there's definitely distributed blockchain-y AI, whatever keyword you want to use. YouTube alternatives now. There's PeerTube and DTube and a few others. Steemit. I think that's DTube.
You need to get on YouPorn. You could just do OSCP Proctor videos.
Yeah.
Those do get me a chub too. So yeah.
Aspiring hacker gets fucked by OSCP Proctor.
So yeah, OSCE's next. Let's see hi, bro.
So yeah. If anything, it's created much lulls for us. So thank you, YouTube shit team. Thanks for fucking banning us, you bitches.
You bunch of googs.
Yeah. Pro tip: everybody that ever bans me from anywhere ends up getting owned massively, like a couple years later, and dumped. So rip Reddit, rip YouTube, rip LinkedIn.
I love it.
Gmail now.
That's not a threat. It's just a fact.
Love it.
Okay, so
right?
we are very live. So
retract all those jokes that we just made.
So yes, I mean, okay. I think that bottom line is that we got to continue to focus on this stream. We can play with Periscope, but I think that something that might be in our favor is to get a Twitch partnership, which we can do if you guys are doing what you're doing right now, which is watching and just chatting, shit posting, whatever the fuck, into our chat as much as possible. And we'll also be just posting random ways to watch our videos. And we're going to try to, I guess, I feel like this whole thing is now just forced us to become more creative and work together. I mean, this is probably just somebody's really shitty, stupid bot that they tried to use as a joke or a prank or to try to get at us, whatever the fucking case may be. Somebody automated something because it happened on a Saturday night. It doesn't happen normally. It wasn't normal business hours. And the bottom line is thanks, because now we don't have to bother with multiple.
Well, I think we've already given this way too much airtime, and if somebody's getting chubby thinking about, I reported these guys and they got a strike from YouTube, I'm an amazing hacker. No, dude, you're a bitch.
Okay, we need to isolate that later and just make that a tagline that goes at the front of the show.
Well, no, you're right. No pun intended, but you're right.
Oh yeah. All right. So let's get into some of our news here. So we got our lovely show notes today. So I'll throw those in the chat real quick. Boom.
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
So that's interesting. Oh no, Michael Jackson. I thought he was deceased, but apparently not. He's in our chat. He says we could look into a Netflix partnership, and I truly think we could.
We absolutely could. That's crazy.
Oh, I heard Netflix partnership. Were you guys talking about me? Sorry, I zoned out.
Yeah, I just I was talking about the comment you made in the channel, and I think it seems off limits for a new show or a show like ours where we're like, I don't know. Netflix is, all right. I hate to just reference South Park, but South Park was like, yeah, they're just kind of giving the fucking contracts to everybody.
Pretty much.
This is a.
I mean, look what happened with the Unfriended premiere. That turned out a lot better than we expected, just by activating some contacts and putting some memes out there. Yeah, and I mean, some of us have been on like documentaries and stuff just by tweeting the right thing at the right time, and it turns out someone was making a movie about it. Wow, want to come talk to us?
The people at XM and like XM Radio, I think would be a brilliant platform for us. Even if we just got a shitty time slot, it doesn't matter. Truckers are like one of the main subscribers to XM Radio, and they're interested in hearing compelling content.
Like the Art Bell, like
compelling
coast to coast crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Like
and Alex Jones crowd as well. They're on.
Max headroom this thing, and just let's just start broadcasting it on digital TV with a Raspberry Pi and a SDR, plug it in, we'll give you an image, and you can broadcast to your local town.
Just don't click through the terms of service for Netflix on a smart TV because it's 65 clicks guaranteed minimum.
Pray the Ode away. Was that in reference to the barracks controllers? Because that would be lol. Especially if they're not.
Say again? The what?
The barracks controllers, the controllers that a little while ago some furries took over and broadcasted their excellent furry podcast instead of crunchy music. And I still got to give them props for that. That was a great hack.
Was it sexual?
It was like a really sexual fucking thing. But I mean, I don't doubt very many have been fixed by now. And is it actually illegal to use a publicly available service? I don't think it is.
There's a lot of gray areas. Like,
well, okay,
there's this thing with a Raspberry Pi. You could plug an aerial into like a pin on the Raspberry Pi and start broadcasting digital television for $7 from your house. I could be making my neighbors watch this podcast right now for $7.
Oh, you should totally do it. I think my point was more though. Any of our more adventurous listeners, if they want to somehow rebroadcast our stuff over terrestrial radio, there's not much we can do about it to stop you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, it's 9:53 here on the East Coast, so we should probably start our news because we got a lot of stuff going on. So, first order of business. This one is interesting. The U.S. charges the North Korean hacker in the Sony and WannaCry attacks. One guy.
He's dead already. Guaranteed.
Yeah, totally dead.
Yep.
And this is not a false flag. It's not just Kim Jong-un wearing a pair of sunglasses, right?
So one of the cool things about this
with a floppy disk.
Yeah, where's that 5.5 floppy? I think one of the cool things about our group that we have surrounding us and giving us good ideas, I saw some things being floated where there's some good intel that's just waiting to be published that won't put anybody in harm's way. And so we got to kind of wait it out and see, are they really that dumb to actually kill this guy? If they are, there's some pain in their near future.
Well, I mean, the guy, like, it's potential, like the guy who did it, let's say the guy who they've charged has done it. If he did disappear, and they could simply replace him with somebody else. I mean, at a nation state level, that's not a big deal, right? So we wouldn't know if the guy's dead or not.
Are you saying they all look alike? Because I agree.
No, I'm just saying we don't know what he looks like. That's very. I'm not gonna. I'm not entertaining that.
That was a joke, everybody. A joke.
Imagine they gave someone who was completely clueless to the States and just turned him over. It's yeah, here's the guy. Do you think Trump or anyone would even be able to tell?
No. It's just it's a random. It's a person. It's a number in a book, basically.
Just send some guy that can't talk, rough him up, and let him go.
Yeah, well, they just throw him into jail and they throw him in.
What was it? They did to that American. Didn't they brainwash him or beat the fuck out of him to the point where he didn't even have any memories and he came back pretty much being special to us? Honestly, they ain't gonna let him go. He's fucking done. If you guys, I don't remember what the hell is leaked, but it's crazy.
Did you notice that Trump announced Trump is making another visit? I mean, this was yesterday as well. He made an announcement saying, "I want to meet with Mr. Kim again."
That's bullshit. He just wants to hang out with Rodman.
So I mean, I think though the interesting part of this is that they did find a person and were able to actually put this on a single person at the very least. But yeah, do we have any other information about how this is actually done?
Forensics, you mean?
Yeah, well, I don't know if there's any report released. I've only read the news stories about it.
There's a lot of TTPs that are known tactical whatever procedures. Somebody else knows about what the actual TTP stands for.
Overseas.
Yeah, indicators of compromise, sure. But there was a significant amount of overlap between somebody that wasn't extremely well versed in OPSEC or was really framed. But this individual helped to uncover some really bad things that North Korea was doing. And God bless him.
Alright.
I really hope he'd
So
get killed. That would be amazing. But
September 6th, Donald Trump said, Kim Jong-un of North Korea proclaims unwavering faith in President Trump. Thank you, Chairman Kim. Let's get it done together. I'm going to call it and say this guy's a scapegoat.
Yeah, I
I
mean
agree.
that's totally possible, and I think the other implication of that is, as well as malware tech being blamed for WannaCry, which is lol in itself, is obviously now they can no longer pursue that if somebody's being charged with it already.
I think that the evidence that he was involved in it revolved around the fact that he stopped it. And oh my God, nobody could possibly stop this crazy attack where all you have to do is register a domain. That's
Yeah,
really
strings
false.
of binary.
It's
It's
really,
just pretty
it's
sure I had a friend at Cloudflare mentioned that to me before he actually did it, that they saw this. So he wasn't the only person in the world that noticed it.
it's too bad though.
But anyway, I have a feeling, I reckon Kim Jong-un is personally responsible for WannaCry and Sony, as bizarre as that sounds. And that
He
this
wrote
is
it on his
some kind of arrangement, like Mr. Trump has said, look, we're gonna make that whole. You got to stop hacking all the stuff, please. You can play as much StarCraft as you like. You can talk to Dennis Rodman all day long. You can smoke as much potcoin as you like, but stop with the hacking, please.
Wait, you think
Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. No, he's going over there to make a deal right now. That's exactly what he's doing.
he may be saying those words, but secretly he's like, keep going, keep doing it. It's asymmetrical war.
It's influence on majority too. And you think about production companies and Sony, that's like the biggest one you could go after. So,
exactly.
I mean,
And
it's all probably publicity game,
if they
as well
didn't,
as gain.
if they didn't,
Well, work with us on this fantasy hacking thing rather than just stealing money from NPCs, which is what they've been doing.
I think though, it's pretty like Sony being a really big target is, we see it with Skids trying to take down PSN, or we see it with like that kind of low level Skid shit. So is it crazy to think that maybe the nation states also think that they're also a good target?
Well, there was a reason. Like, there was a reason they went after Sony, right? It was because they were putting out that movie. They didn't just randomly go after Sony because fuck Sony.
exactly.
And they haven't come for any other media company.
I think the movie was shit, and that it was a good scapegoat as well. Another scapegoat. Like I really don't think that the movie had anything to do with it. I think that,
you really don't, based off Kim's like fucking persona. You don't think that that's something they would go after because of what people would think of him if it was broadcast?
I didn't believe it either. I thought it was false flag. And then I had a friend who's spoken all around the world on Red Star Linux and his reverse engineering of it, and he said, no, totally. I think they absolutely did this, and it's like 2 or 3 guys maximum.
Because if you make the Kim family look small, why the fuck wouldn't they flex back on you? To be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got an image to maintain.
I just
put everybody in a box.
My thinking was that North Korean. I was thinking like my thing was like your average North Korean wouldn't watch the movie, like wouldn't see the movie.
Right. There's one person in that country that would and has the technical capability and an internet connection, and that's Mr. Kim himself.
See, I don't recall when the movie trailer started for that movie, but I do recall this very obvious fact. They specifically recalled to that movie as a movie that's declaring war on us in North Korea. And that's something that sounds silly, but this culture in North Korea believes those kinds of things. And whether or not it was directed by Kim Jong-un, I can't say that, but it was still North Korean attribution, easily done, because they're not great at covering tracks.
Yeah, I didn't want to believe it either. I couldn't believe it at first.
I was going to say it's interesting, like when you see these documentaries around North Korea, and not specifically the American-based ones, but throughout the whole, like when what you see and what these people believe, and they have pictures of him like in their house. They worship him as a god. Like he is the idol to them. Like he is their religion.
He's literally
he's not there to be shit on.
He's literally a god that's known that doesn't shit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
crazy. They hold him up to.
A lot of the world is like this. If you go to Thailand right now and you try and look up a Wikipedia article about the Prince of Thailand, it'll be blocked. Just that particular article and other news stories about his antics in nightclubs in London. And the Thai people just won't believe it. If you say it to a Thai person, say, "Did you know that your crown prince got busted like snorting coke off a hooker's tits in London like a month ago?" They'll call the police and say, "This person's spreading propaganda about the leader. What the fuck?"
ThugCrowd banned on YouTube and in Thailand.
And in Thailand now.
Oh my god! Does
I
anybody?
don't like ladyboys anyway.
All right, let's get on to the next news story real quick because we've been kind of circling on here. Once we start talking about weird shit, we just gotta get going. The next thing that we have here, I thought was interesting. The top tier app in Apple's Mac Store, stealing browser history. It was the Adware Doctor. Now I don't have a Mac, so I don't know anything about this.
Did you guys see the follow up to that? Where they actually banned Trent Micro? Apple banned Trent Micro.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, Trent's put out a statement now, which is a bit of hand wavy bullshit that says, well, in the license agreement, in the fine print that the user agrees to, it says we're going to do this and we're going to send some information for telemetry and indicators.
Because people read that garbage these days.
Well, I think those days are over with. Like judges and magistrates and stuff are not accepting that as an answer anymore. Like, oh no, they forgot to untick the box that says that we can collect all their data, and the courts are like, yeah, no, go fuck yourself. Cambridge Analytica, all of these people, go fuck yourself. You can't do that anymore.
Look at the name.
South Park thing. Oh, sorry, DNZ. Go ahead.
Look at the name of this app that is on the App Store. Adware Doctor. Who installs Adware Doctor? Like, I don't go to the App
anybody
Store
over the age of fucking 35
my
probably
dad,
installs Adware Doctor.
dad.
That's the fucking problem. Is like this gen
My
gap that you're
mom.
looking at as a whole. Like, fuck, man. Anybody who's looking at doctor, fix, those terms is a fucking sleeper, and it happens, and it's gonna happen to us, and we're like in that age where it's like it's almost our responsibility to translate what the hell these terms mean, because anymore, like it's just a fucking ton of garbage.
It's not our responsibility. The boomers went and like completely fucked the next political ecosystem. Why should we help them?
Oh, they fucked us too. Yeah, I'll agree.
Let them,
With you.
like,
The housing
talk
market
about,
and the economy are all to blame.
I tell boomers all the time, buy Trend Micro, buy and Norton, buy both of them, install both of them at the same time, and just fucking click everything that it tells you to click. Just keep doing it forever.
I tell them
This
that
sets up my retirement, right? I'm planning for my retirement by ensuring that they stay trapped in this matrix that they
Where are you
created.
invested then, Faith? What stocks are we looking at here?
I'm invested in anyone that's been on this podcast in the last few weeks talking about like military grade technology. I'm invested in them.
Hey, so just about that, like talking about that kind of stuff in general, I think is a huge market. That might be something that we do occasionally as secret shows, and so you can follow the secret shows by either following the Patreon stream or following us directly on the Twitch account.
Absolutely. If you want access to like the ThugTube, the secret ThugTube, hey. We want to see some Patreon green.
I mean, looking here,
This is the anime porn section.
Send us like $13.37. Go ahead. You'll be engaging at that point.
With this app stuff though, like, so apps are vetted on the App Store, which we know that the vetting isn't all that strong. I mean, code obfuscation is pretty easy, and you know that's gonna make it past your average code vetting guy. If you can inject backdoors with single characters and shit like that, like it's not a big deal. Like we've seen flaws in OpenSSL where not using a curly brace and adding indentation was extremely significant. You know what I mean? So I think this is likely in a lot more apps than we've seen. I think one of the biggest things is noted in the article that once the data is collected, it's zipped and then sent to a domain based in China. That was probably the giveaway.
Well, I thought they said technically it's an Amazon machine, so I just
Yeah, but
briefly looked at the article before.
Amazon China is a separate region, and you need to, if you're outside of China, you need to apply to have the China region activated on your account. So not anyone can provision an Amazon China box.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wonder how, if this, for like enterprise Trend Micro, whether there's just some consumer shit that they're doing for Apple and end user stuff, or whether there's like enterprise installs that are zipping up, collecting system information, and then zipping it with a buzzword and sending it off to some server somewhere.
I'll pray the
Hey, hold on. Can we talk about password protected files here for a second?
Yeah,
you
that's
guys
just
see what I
obfuscating.
posted, like on cell and sheet protection?
Yeah, that's a good one. We should totally talk about it. I just want to talk about something that Pray the ODOA said. I think the gloves are kind of off, and we can. The last thing that you mentioned, I think we can talk pretty frankly about that, but maybe not.
Yeah,
Now is a good time.
maybe not now, but yeah, Trend is not. I mean, they're enterprise class sometimes, but yeah, it looks like they've chosen like consumer shitty world.
I think there's
So-
a lot. There's a real complex thing going on there, but I do think the fact that the Apple Store was willing to ban not only that top 3
Yeah,
infraction, but they also said, "Hey, wait a minute, the fucking Trend Micro people are siphoning that off too. They're booted as well." And I like seeing that this morning, because that means that they're not playing favorites.
Amazon, please set an alarm for 6 a.m. Saturday morning.
Amazon, please send all contacts to owned@stack.s.
I'm coming in via Lambda on 3. It's fine.
Hey, so the next story that we have here, I wanted to it's kind of related to what you were saying, Zelf, about like, I guess the generation gap of technology. This is the UIDAI ad hoc software that was hacked. The ID database was compromised, and it was interesting because I don't know anything about this software until I read this article. But people had released a patch to basically be able to bypass the biometric data, the entry that you would need to do to sign up for an account and to get access to other people's accounts. And so this is everybody's information, but you can access it through biometrics. But there are people who, are not connected. They don't have technology, the technology that you would need to actually connect to this and do the biometrics. And people were able to basically take over their stuff.
It's fucking disgusting. Like,
yeah, pretty wild.
I don't want to interrupt you by any means, but who the fuck thinks biometrics in the first place is a good form or layer of security to have in place on any fucking layer? California
DMV.
Well, you need to move the fuck out of there then, Dan, because that's a joke.
It's the only place that was a safe haven, so I guess I'm moving to a different country then.
Fucking nasty.
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting because this is as you're trying to move people onto, it's like similar to the Equifax thing, but I feel like it's as you're moving people onto the internet to be able to access their data, their benefits, their identity. Basically, I guess the bringing everybody on board at the same time with something like this, it just seems like a bad idea from the get-go, where you're not going to have everybody be able to validate themselves in a way that is actually secure. And it just seems like I don't know how this would have actually gone out, this application.
It's really fucked up because if you think about it from a security perspective, who approved this move in the first place? Was someone actually responsible from a change request standpoint to give approval to do so? That's what disturbs me a lot of the time is how corporations operate and whose word they listen to, or if they're listening to anybody at all, or if they're just pushing for the bigger gains.
Yeah. No, I mean it seems unfair. It's just unfair to let something happen where you can just sign up. There's no physical personal verification process. It's just it's like SIM swapping, but IRL. Just being able to very quickly and easily just take over someone's entire identity.
So
Yeah.
on that note, like just thinking like it'd be kind of fucked up if at some point like the major cyber insurers like actually started like knowingly accepting these risks because they knew shit would get hacked, right? Like if people
Yeah.
started like gaming cyber insurance.
Yeah. No, that's another thing too. That's very easy to do. Take out some giant policy, releasing something on like hack forum or something is the same thing as setting fire to the banana stand. Just getting rid of it all. And
Like
Yeah.
Equifax profited after their breach.
yeah,
That's so sneaky. Like you talk about the TOS agreement and like what they were doing as far as the check, and it's such a dirty fucking game. It's fucking gross.
I hope that that hackers watching the Equifax breach and the fallout and where they are right now, starting to realize like what a predatory, scummy kind of industry they are, and how they're all connected to a bunch of other scummy people. And when they fuck up, no matter how big it is, nothing really happens to them.
Yeah, they're still using struts, right? So there was the new struts bug that came out that we spoke about last week, and I think Dan was pretty spot on when he said that it's going to get used again against, the new bug will be used against the old targets, and he will see cycles. Nothing will change.
They are owned
But
again.
it doesn't matter how many times like a 0-day in a particular platform comes out and people like us can scream. We can say, look, this is a nation state backdoor. Obviously, stop using it. They still will keep using it forever. At some point, you just have to put your heads up and say, all right, Dr. Strangelove this shit, man.
Yeah, I think we're all here because we don't want to be those people, though. I think that like we're all here to give a moral standing on what we think is right and good. And
How many times do you have to like point like? How many times do you have to patch a struts at 0-day on like your internet banking front end, or somebody raises in like a weekly stand-up meeting? Have we considered not using struts? Maybe.
plenty of times, but are you going to influence change, or are you going to continue the pattern?
I thought this is why we were using open source, was to get away from this kind of being walled in with like dinosaur legacy application servers and stuff that we can't change because we paid a multi-year contract, blah, 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 blah.
No, we are here. You have a voice. I'm not trying to shit on you either.
Yeah.
So this the next article we have though is pretty relevant to some lols that we had a couple of months ago.
Yeah, so our friends Apophis Squad
Oh, good lord.
have gotten arrested. One of them did, at least. Optics, aka whatever the heck his name was, he got owned. And so the funniest part was that this happened because he was using Proton Mail while he was DDoSing them, and they were doing all their stupid shit like calling out bomb threats and terrorizing schools and planes and doing some really, really bizarrely weak yet somehow powerful enough to take down Proton Mail DDoS attacks. Yeah, they were using Proton Mail on that taunting Proton Mail, and yeah, they got owned.
Yeah, I think they might have made IRC lag for 12 minutes.
Is Proton still down, by the way? Anybody know?
So
Did we have him on the show?
Well, he did come on. Not this guy, the other guy. They came on, but they were going to talk about what they were doing, and they didn't end up actually talking, although they're in the voice chat listening.
we should wait. They're in the voice chat.
Oh, they were.
So we're banned on YouTube, and we've got people in jail. Cool.
Well, it's not necessarily because we didn't say anything. They're doing their thing. But
Yeah,
the thing is that if you are somebody who wants attention like that, and you seek out attention, and you seek out people like us to get attention, you might get attention that you don't want.
I mean, don't. I don't know. We joked about it in the chat, like, yeah, come, DDoSers, go crazy. Use all your bots. Here, I'll give you the IP and the port. Do it.
Nobody's dropped yet. It's weird.
and then they do it, and then they wonder, like, what amazes me is, like, a lot of these kids that have squad in their name or stressor.net in the URL, their first target seems to be Brian Krebs, always.
Yeah.
And then they get arrested very quickly. And they keep doing it over and over again. I don't know why they keep. I don't know. It's like sticking your dick in a hornet's nest. I don't know why they do it. It's insane.
I mean, it comes down to kind of one of the three rules I have at least is don't fuck with government, don't fuck with money, large scales of money, and don't fuck with ego.
You
Like,
hear that? Don't try to touch me. Coming straight
Yeah.
from Dan.
Well, no, I mean,
deadly and don't fuck up.
it's just to me. I don't know. There's just the generation of people that lolcow finds. Which I wish is he in here? No, he's not. I don't know. I mean, it just I understand the need for wanting to like say what you're doing. But
I think we have a great example in our Twitch chat right now. This guy telling us how boring we are, and that he's trying to get our attention. Like I wasn't gonna give him any attention, but
Stop it!
Still
No,
bad.
shut the
There you
fuck
are.
up, DNC. Fuck that.
I find
dude.
it.
Fuck
I
that
find
kid.
it totally
Yeah,
hilarious.
well-
Like, look at this ego, lol.
But no, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like
Yeah.
if you do something, I guess just don't use the service of the platform that you're DDoSing to mess.
Well, that goes without saying. That's like using Amazon EC2 instances to try to take down Amazon.com.
You slow Loris because you're a sloth and you're on the bandwagon.
The thing is, they were also hosting their site on Blazing Fast, and it took me exactly 20 minutes to convince Blazing Fast to put me on that same 24
Right?
and easily just ARP sniff and see exactly what they were doing.
I mean, you can just
Easy.
these kids when they come at us and you just say, "Hey, ding dong, do you know what BGP is?" And they go, "Buh." They have no idea. At that point, you just ignore them and go, "All right, harmless." I mean, they're harmless to me, but if they harm someone else, they're going to get in trouble. So
I took it to a
it's out of our hands at that point. Like we try our best.
So
Level them up a
that
bit.
which will not be named, go ahead and fuck with us. Fuck you. You're a scrub.
I mean, seriously, go ahead and DDoS our IRC server. We literally don't give a fuck. It's a it's a hang play.
It doesn't cost us anything. It takes us 5 seconds to put a new instance up. We can put 500 new instances up for free immediately if we can be bothered to spend 5 minutes on it.
Oh man, back up in
All it does
redundancy.
is-
Let's talk. Let's talk.
All right, yo. Before we start trying to get people to actually DDoS us, which is annoying to fucking deal with when you're just trying to chill and have a nice night. Let's
I love
move on
you.
to the next part, which actually does have to do with DDoSing, but it's unpatched routers that are being used in a vast proxy army, but also spy on networks. So people were using some Vault 7 tools to hack into some microtic stuff. Currently 370,000 microtic routers that were vulnerable and have been used for all sorts of weird stuff.
Microtic who?
Is that how it's pronounced? For real? I've been being like microtic.
I think he means
Microtik,
microtik.
Yeah, I say stuff very weird. So
I like it.
So I think like these are just like Linux boxes that are unpatched because they're classic routers, like nothing totally special. But the malicious sucks proxy port on 4153, that's suspiciously similar to something that we stumbled on.
Yeah, I mean, reusing your same anything is just going to get you quickly associated to other criminal things. Be smart. Like if you're really going to do this, and I'm not trying to advocate that they do, but be smart about it. Don't fucking reuse infrastructure, don't reuse emails like or passwords even. Like it's so easy to track people via passwords. Just be smart about it. Stop being silly goose.
Yeah, the next story that we have in here is the British Airways that was hit with some data theft. And this happened through a card skimming malware that was on its website from November 2017 till February of 2018. So they grabbed a bunch of credit card data from them, and yeah, if you use British Airways, there's 380,000 cards were compromised, which is quite a lot in that short period of time.
I don't know.
Wait, what? Who was this again?
British Airways. This is just with some malware on their site itself.
So I sent them a reply saying, "Hey, how many customers have you had over the past year?" And knowing full damn well, they didn't just get breached on August 20th. There's no way. It's probably been for like a year now.
Yeah, well, this is malware that's specifically on this website that they had claimed, or they talked about in this story specifically. They're maybe also, I mean, obviously, it's not, you don't just hit somebody with one thing, you know, just call it a day.
Yeah, exactly. I would argue that that kind of stuff is more important to look at than looking to ban a podcast that's bringing awareness to it and arguably positive awareness to it.
Yeah. Somebody asking how do they put the JS file onto the server? I mean, they could have found some remote. They could have found some like CMS login or something, or they could have found some sort of store.
There was the Mage cut. There was the huge Magento thing. I think we spoke about that last.
Oh
week.
yeah.
So I mean, there's like been a whole bunch of recent breaches. I mean, who knows? It was probably like a WordPress plugin. Like, lol, let's just make our airline website on Joomla or some PHP app or something. Like, it's as dumb as that sounds. It happens.
Yeah. 1 second. So the next story that we have in our little feed here. So this one was interesting too. The chain shot malware was found by cracking a 512-bit RSA key. So basically, somebody was using some weak encryption here, and their malware was decrypted pretty quickly.
What's the time on cracking 512? That's pretty piss weak. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
2048 is like default for almost everything, and most security people, are going above and beyond that just because muscle memory when they type it, I guess. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, So it says you basically. Well, I thought they had said that they had how they did it, but yeah, it just says you just rent cloud.
It would be dictionary, right? Be dictionary, not key space. Brute.
Right. Yeah, it's like very very small.
So their lead password was just like all lowercase a's or something, right?
Yeah. No, pretty funny though that somebody's would you? I don't know why you would use that or how you would have gotten that. Even if you're trying to create an RSA key, like that's not even the default, right? Like, what? I don't know how they would have generated this key.
There's all kinds of weird PHP key generator dumbass stuff out there that'll let you do whatever you like.
I don't know.
If you want to create a really dumb password, it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like
really dumb to doing it.
Yeah, then they use that. So this was the key used to communicate with the C2s as well. So
oh my god, really?
Let's just take the whole thing. Like, thanks for all your
thanks for all the shells.
Yeah, cheers.
So that was 512-bit RSA. Did you say?
Yeah. So like the 90s called and no earlier the 80s maybe RSA.
Yeah, the last item we have on our news list here, I thought was funny. Some researchers had figured out how to hack Tesla's locks in under 2 seconds, they say. Well, not
talking about SSH keys. Fuck, man.
Like key fob for Tesla, like key fob for the cars.
Yeah, it was a straight up SSH scan, wasn't it? Public and private keys.
No. This is for car key, like keys, like keys to get into Tesla.
The video shows somebody putting a Proxmark, I believe it's a Proxmark, right next to the door panel to get the challenge. They walk down the beach. They find the guy sitting on a bench or whatever. Put the RFID Proxmark thing close to his pants, and without him realizing it, technically steal the key for the challenge or the response, I guess, and go back to the Tesla and own it. I
loved how easy they made it seem too. Like, this is a train of thought everyone has. That kind of cracked me up watching the video.
The funny thing to me was they could have done it a lot more sneaky and actually just taped a Proxmark to the charging station and just harvest it right there.
Yeah. Well, they could have a long range sniper rifle kind of thing.
I mean, they're also using the video.
10 meters away.
They're using the original Proxmark, which is actually huge compared to like the later versions. Like the later ones, you can palm, you can bump into people, and that kind of thing. And it's like holding a magician holding a playing card.
You guys were talking about Proxmarks a couple of weeks ago, right? I forget who it was that was on here, but I'm pretty sure it was like the Proxmarks. What's up?
That was VDDI, who's actually in our chat right now.
Nice.
What's up, guys?
Interesting thing about that Tesla key. It was a 40-bit key, which is really easy to acquire.
It's a fucking Caesar cipher.
Well, exactly.
Get it in a
DSP
serial
40.
block.
Matt Green reversed that in 2005. I forget what it was on, but it was literally the exact same thing. So it's kind of amazing that persisted into 2018.
I think honestly, if everybody just took a look at exploits from 2008 and prior, you're gonna find a lot of stuff can be used again today because we've made the same mistakes over and over.
Yep. To Tesla's credit, though, give a shit, and Tesla actually did. They had a mechanism to report this, and it can hopefully get fixed. But other manufacturers as receptive.
I just want to get as high as SpaceX. I just want to sit across from Joe Rogan and stare him in the eyes and watch him exploit me.
All right, yo. So yeah, we have a few good reads in the Goodreads section of our show notes. Which, if you guys haven't seen it, it's right here. Throwing this in here. Don't feed the trolls. Yeah, there's actually some really funny ones. I like that RQ, you shared this one. BSD puts RetGuard in the last functions in their kernel. So now there's like no ROP gadgets that are in BSD's kernel proper, which is pretty cool.
So that was sorry, that RetGuard, that was the Theo was saying what was the other thing? RAP and GR security. So Theo had a big, Theo and Spender had a nice long email with the difference between RAP and NetGuard, and yeah, they both apparently kill ROP, but I believe there's methods you can find in Frac that will still defeat those in different ways. You might need to play a bit, but yeah. So it'll stop Metasploit for now, I guess.
Oh shit! What did I just do? But yeah, no, it's just interesting to see that was the ways that they're actually approaching kernel security, and actually trying to mitigate ROP gadgets, which is pretty interesting to just see how they actually. I want to know more about how I guess you develop that kind of code in the future. Yeah, there's a couple other good ones here too. The weird one, the really scary one, was something that Herman had shared. Basically, somebody had installed spyware on like their roommate's app or their friend's app, and they were just like spying on them and giving out that information to like all their classmates. And there's like a group, like a secret group chat that they were sharing like information from this person's phone and like just shitting on her. It just literally like this like Black Mirror episode. I don't know, but take a look at that if you guys want to. Yeah, we should probably get into the. Actually, it's 10:30 now. We literally just made it in time for the. I thought we were gonna take a long time for the news. Yeah. So talk time. Oh my God, it's Michael Jackson. Are you there? Oh no, it's Michael Jackson. Are you there?
Hey, I'm there.
Hey. Yo. So yeah. That was a chaotic news segment here, but yeah, no, we're interested in speaking with you. I know that. So me and you've been talking for a little bit about what you do and some of the stuff that you wanted to talk about with us. So I guess do you want to kind of like go over like who you are and what you do, depending on what you want to share?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Michael Jackson. If you don't know me, I'm famous for Thriller, some other funky albums. No, so I do IR. I'm just some random guy, not really an expert. I only know what I know. But lately, I've been working with virtualization a lot lately, especially in cloud environments. So like I joined this company recently. I left from a telco, and they wanted me to spearhead IR and stuff. And they'd already made the decision that they're migrating their existing VDI solution and a couple data centers completely cloud. So I've just been working on like automation in the IR space lately.
Oh, he speaks my language. God damn.
Yeah, but yeah, that's really it.
Okay. No, sweet. So, I mean, you kind of just want to go through. I remember that you had shared with me some notes, I guess. So, do you want to kind of educate the people who are listening right now about what it is you're talking about when you talk about VDI, virtualization, and just virtualized environments as a whole?
Sure. So basically, VDI is just acronym Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. So like anyone who's like not living under a rock knows what like cloud is, right? There's so basically it's just like a whole bunch of like virtual machines in somebody's data centers somewhere, like Amazon, for example. They have like 6 or 7 of them and a whole bunch of services that they offer. But some organizations, they for whatever reason, they either don't want to be in a cloud. It could be data regulations, like they can't have it in the cloud for whatever reason, or they can't have it in a certain country where it's part of the data is hosted, or so they'll eventually just instead of having all their own physical machines, they'll like and managing everything like individually, like one by one, they'll just like cluster it, and they'll actually make their own internal cloud, basically.
Okay.
And a lot of times people can fuck it up. And that's kind of what I was just going to talk about, some of the major fuck ups that I've seen in common configs. Yeah, because like, you know, like when you think about like hacking, right, in general, you're usually looking like either you're looking for some like shitty misconfig and like something, or you're looking for some gaping hole. But often the biggest gaping holes are the ones that are
Have been
like
tapped already.
yeah, the ones that are like intentionally there, like for the users.
You mean like on Pornhub, the gaping hole?
That was my shitty joke. Sorry.
Yeah. No, like for example, like the biggest one that I'm thinking of is like some VDI solutions. For example, like you'll download like a software client to let you log in and actually like view screen like and like see your desktop. And you can just copy and paste between the hypervisor, like you like just like literally just copy shit, just like copy and paste right between like your machine and your desktop, and like you just exfiltrate data like just by copying and pasting. And like once you like reboot the machine, there's basically no evidence unless you have like some pretty granular packet capturing going on, right? And
Yeah.
like there's some other ones that I'm thinking about too. Like for example, people will often spin up like Amazon workspaces for like dev stuff. Like if you don't know what workspaces is, it's basically like a really easy to use VDI solution. A lot of the hard work's been done by Amazon. You just click a few buttons and you can spin up your own virtual desktop.
Yeah.
But they won't put 2FA on, right? Like you could just like brute force it. There's some like I've seen some shitty brute force scripts for like their client somewhere, and like you can, assuming your dev picked a bad password or doesn't have 2FA, you'll eventually get in, right? And it's going to be the same as RDP brute forcing, but the only difference is people aren't often logging their view controller session or whatever.
So yeah, you talk about like 2FA. Are you doing this on IAM level, or are you doing this through a third-party API?
IAM, you can just use like RSA tokens or
something. And that's some dumb shit, because to be honest, like MFA has never been made so easy as far as AWS goes, and I think it's really fucking lame that people don't enable that stuff to begin with.
Yeah, it is really fucking lame. Like especially when you gotta like manage tokens for like a whole bunch of people that don't believe in the value that it has. Like it gets really annoying. People are like losing them.
Talk about baby boomers again.
Yeah, man, the fucking old people at work are the worst. Like these guys, like always, oh, I don't want to bring my phone with me. I just want to walk in and have my desk phone, and I'll pick up my calls, and I'll go home at 5 o'clock.
All right, I have a story for you, real quick, and I'm not gonna interrupt your talk here, but
please go.
It'll be like 30 seconds. It'll just be like, all right, I had this lady who's like 60 plus years old. She gets hired out of the state of California because like she's worked with the federal government and she's done what she can, and she has leeway there. But this lady, I was like asking her, and she had like 40 emails in an outbox, and I was like, what are you using to send your emails? And she's like, oh, I'm using OWA. I said, oh my fucking God. So like I update her machine, which had been up for 18 fucking days to begin with. And I was just like, my God, like why are we still hiring people that are this fucking old that don't understand security?
Yeah, like rough. it's not even that they don't understand security, right? Like, not everyone's going to be a security expert, but like, if you're dumb enough to not fucking listen to them, like, you're not going to not listen to the finance people when they tell you, like, yo, you got to do this, like, report or some stupid shit. But like, why is it that all of a sudden when it comes to security, we say, like, hey, having your dog's name or your kid's name as your password is a bad idea because it's easy to get.
Like, yeah, like birthdays can be processed in a matter of seconds, and that's disturbing. Like, I forget who it was, to be honest. If anybody knows, go ahead and shout out. But it was like a 1080, and you could process birthdays for the past like 100 years in like 5 seconds. So if you're using birthdays as a password, you're a fucking dumbass, especially if you're just using straight plain text digits.
There's these times where like I have incidents, and for whatever reason, I'll straight up like ask the user, like, what was your password? And they'll tell me some bullshit like, oh, it's my kid's name and the year they're born, but I'm not going to tell you the year they're born in because it's secret. I'm like, that's all right. That's all I needed to know.
It's a secret for 20 seconds max.
Let me just Google it, like, you Facebook your kid, like, oh, look, they put their birthday public. Thanks.
Yeah. And
So-
like,
Michael Jackson. I kind of wanted to roll back a second just because I wanted to I found your notes that you had sent me, and I wanted to just ask you a question about something. So why do organizations actually use this service? Because you're talking about, people who are using it that might not know exactly how to use it. Like when you're talking about AWS and deploying like EC2 instances or deploying other services and stuff, that's usually developers and sysadmins that are doing that, right? But why would people be using the VDI stuff, and why would organizations want to deploy that across their environment? Like, I guess, what are the benefits to it?
Cost effective.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really cheap when you do it well. Keyword, when you do it well.
Okay.
So like, consider manpower, right? Like your typical IT organization. Historically, you have like 5-6 guys, and they're servicing the business, and you've got all these physical desktops that you've got to, like, well, there's an issue, yeah, you got to go make sure the cable's not fucked, and like sometimes you have to actually move the box or whatever. Like you still got to pay someone by the hour for that, right? So sometimes when people are thinking about the cost of like managing IT, they're only thinking about like the $300 to buy a box, which it is cheaper in that sense. But when you consider the manpower and like to service, like A, service well, but B, service a whole large scale enterprise, VDI makes that so easy because not only can you automate it, but you can get really granular with like how you're managing your resources.
Okay. Yes.
Just a quick question: like, what is the average latency like though in using these VDI services? Like, is it if I'm because I mean, like, if I'm a terminal guy and I'm typing in my terminal, like from my keystroke to what I see, what are we expecting?
So I gotta be honest, I use Amazon Workspaces as a daily driver, and it is very, very smooth. We did a good implementation. So if you read some of the documentation, which it's kind of shit, but I've read it all, so I remember some things. So when you're designing your rollout with Workspaces, they tell you keep it in a VPC across 2 regions it's just that you have like optimal connection, and you're going to have, if it's over 100 milliseconds of ping, then Amazon starts giving you health check warnings and stuff. But usually from what I've seen, it can be like 10 to like 50.
Don't stop there. What else can you do with health checks as far as variables go?
With health checks,
CloudWatch.
Yeah, in CloudWatch particularly, you can actually like I just learned this today. You can log like your main. I don't know what the actual term is, but like I'm just gonna call it like your front door, like the app that your users download to log into Workspaces. Using CloudWatch, you can actually like log for like brute forces and stuff with that. Yeah, that's really it. Like you can look for like spikes in your resources. If someone was like spinning up random shit, you'd be able to see it.
So you said there was an app to download to access it. Are we talking like something we can run on a thin client, or like what kind of resources does the desktop thingy take?
I think that's exactly what he's talking about, is like PC over IP devices.
Yeah, so there are actual thin clients. Like I have thin clients too, but I'm talking like an actual like software application that like you just download it. And one thing with that, it's the same software application like across all deployments. The only thing that varies is like the connection details. So if you knew what you were looking for, like if you knew like X shitty organization had VDI, like go through their public like help desk docs. The odds that you'll see their view connection servers or whatever configuration information, it's probably out there because their users bitch a lot. And
It's really interesting to me because like the last time I used PC over IP was being like, teller fucking idiots, and they were using it on like the front line in finance. And we'd pull out like EVGA thin clients and we'd say like PC over IP. And at that point in time, it was all VMware based infrastructure. And you'd set that all up to be like network, port traffic, where it is, where it can go. And then, that was all self-contained though. So I literally have no experience from AWS as VC over IP standpoint. And from what you're saying, it seems like a hell of a lot of that is automated to this day. And I think it's like very, it's intriguing to me, especially that you elaborate on that and how that's managed and what you can and can't put in place and how simple they make it.
Absolutely. So first off, Horizon View fucking sucks. It is terrible. I don't recommend anybody uses it. But that being said, Workspaces has its pros and cons. So it's an extremely stable, extremely smooth experience. Like your videos are like your video stream is going like really, really crystal clear. And especially on a thin client, like most my users don't even understand that their thin client isn't their computer. They if you tell them to reboot their machine, they just like power down the thin client, like expecting it
I'm
to
gonna boot
be
back to the network.
yeah, right. But it's when it's well implemented, it is a solid experience. That being said, there's some issues with it, and mainly I take that from documentation and Amazon's lack of attention to how admins are going to use it. So it literally is that simple. If you want to play with it, you can spin up like a 4 gig VM for free. It's like a free tier with AWS. You can just play around with it. You can use their simple AD, which is already Amazon managed. But you can also
Active Directory as a service.
Yeah, they deal with like the directory connectors and all that shit. You just spin it up, connect. But if you want an actual full scale deployment, there's a variety of ways you can do it. You could use your own AD, you could use Amazon managed AD, or you can just spin up the single shitty box.
So on the thin clients, like MG, when are you bringing out a bad thin client? He's muted.
That's all
Yes, I'm muted. There's a bunch of kids. I have no idea, but that sounds fun.
He's also a wrangler in his part-time.
Oh, sorry. I just had to shoehorn in a quick question. As far as forensics go, on something like a cloud infrastructure, Amazon or Google, what is it? First of all, possible to do things like unallocated space recovery? I can't imagine it's that easy, but I've never really heard anybody address that in full detail.
It's really not easy, and I gotta be honest, like I'm not some forensics god either. The one time I had to do it, I asked a senior admin to do it for me, and he came back like 3 hours later and said, "Just RDP this host and pull it. Here's the dumps. Don't ask me how."
Okay.
But like he was fucking around with VMware pretty heavily. Like he said, if I remember correctly, like he actually like accessed the infrastructure resources directly and like went to the particular logical units where he expected it was, and he straight up like dumped it.
So I want to ask you from.
Sorry, hold on one second.
Go ahead, Dan.
So in the end, was he actually able to get what you were looking for forensics?
Yes, I think so.
Really? Okay, interesting. So that's something new.
Yeah, I don't know like on a low level like how much was fully recovered, but like for what I ended up finding what I was looking for in memory. So yeah,
I think hit or miss then, right?
yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
I have a good question. Like, as far as SIEM specialists and SOC people go, how far do you see them lasting in the industry, given what's available to you in AWS and what you can and can't do?
If AWS had their own SIEM, they'd be basically fucked. Like I can tell you, as like I've been looking for a SIEM for about 5 months now. They are all the same shit, and just different piles and different smells and ages.
That and they're all like, I've noticed they're very resource intensive, and I don't think they're something that you're gonna easily deploy or write custom rules around. So that's why I would like kind of wanted to ask you from that perspective what you thought.
Yeah. So really, when you're deploying a sim on workspaces, I just did it the same way I usually would have, just left to one server, and then from that point, like you have your log collector, just dump it all into your sim. I've been messing around with like Logarithm a bit lately. In the past, I used Splunk, but I've also been looking at like some other shit like QRadar, and that looks like a pain in the ass to manage, and I've heard it is.
It totally is.
Yeah, I've never even used QRadar myself, but I don't know why I even reached out to IBM, but they're really grilling me. They're like offering some pretty competitive pricing. So like just from the business decision alone, it's going to be like hard for me to justify getting a sim for such a small team. So
QRadar
we
think,
or Logarithm though.
any sim really, like for a
for-
small team, like it's
Fine,
pretty
Logarithm.
necessary
Logarithm is
technology, but for a small team like 5 people, when you're making that like proposition to your business, and you're saying like, hey, spend like $300,000 a year on my sim for 5 people that only 5 people are allowed to look at, they're gonna be like, what the heck? I don't really understand this. So you got to be able to like convey that value to them, and they already understand cloud, like because like we've just migrated our shit there, but there's already enough like business friendly material about cloud and all that stuff that if you just called it some new AWS service and said we really need it, it's probably an easier sell.
How far out? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to shout out to SeaMonster as well, which is like built up on some open source tools and some other stuff. So if you're looking for a smaller solution, I think they scale as well. But yeah, SeaMonster,
SeaMonster?
like SIEM Monster.
Okay, I'll check that out.
It's just this is an alternative, and it's by a guy is has a few good DEFCON talks to check out as well by the same guy. So
yeah.
How far out do you see Kubernetes as a service being a critical part of LSTAX?
Shit. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I've been digging at lately, just because it's it's stuff I want to know, especially on the scale level, how fast and how mission critical you can do these things. It's a little extensive, but it's easy to wrap your head around once you realize like API calls. It's pretty fucking powerful.
Yeah, Kubernetes is pretty powerful. I really want to get more in depth with it. I know Netflix, they released some really cool tool lately called like Margarita Shotgun. I believe the purpose was just like memory dump collection across Kubernetes clusters. That was really interesting to me. Just tools like that. I definitely like a chance to look more into it.
It's hard to find time though. I hear you.
Yeah, especially when you're selling it already.
Yeah, as a service, as it were.
I mean, how intensive would that be though? If you have a Kubernetes cluster that you're using, and you have it running, and you want to get memory dumps like right now, like does that basically grind your cluster to a halt, or?
Depends on what your infrastructure is, I think, and I think AWS does a damn good job of scaling. But yeah, go ahead and touch on what you will, Michael. Do your moonwalk.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, AWS has no built-in like feature or functionality for taking a memory dump, which I think is the stupidest fucking like not having a feature ever. Because like even aside from the security perspective, even like devs like do that. Like your application crashes, you're like, shit, I gotta do memory forensics, figure out why my shit broke, right? But there's no native way to do it. Like when we're talking about like things like RC3227, where like you need to have like a standardized way of doing something to introduce something as like official or solid evidence. Like you'd think that the manufacturer of the largest cloud platform in the world would have some easy way for you to just like click a button and dump memory. When you can click a button and snapshot, you can click a button and do this, click a button, do that, click a button, like make your own fucking whatever. Like it's such a simple thing that you'd think they would have done. Well, it's not simple, but like considering what else they've done, like, you know.
Yeah, you talk about like AWS CLI and what you can and can't do in and out of there, and then you think about like one-offs too, which is, it's really weird for me to say, and I know a lot of you are gonna fucking hate this, but like Azure does have its one-offs. As far as being someone that can provide analytics on response times and web applications, and you look at application dynamics, I think that's something that's very crucial to any company that's software as a service specific. And that's something AWS doesn't really have a response to right now. And they each kind of go their own way, but I think AWS is much, catered to infrastructure, and I think Azure caters more so to a dev perspective. And that's a fight that you come across too, is where do you provide value in each, and where should your one-offs lie, and why, and what's most effective. And that's kind of like where the cloud like hits heads, and they're sitting there jousting with one another. But if you're doing it the right way, in my opinion, you're doing cloud infrastructure now, there's no one and done answer for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like, it's still so new and like so young. Like, for example, when Amazon released workspaces, they didn't even consider once that you might want to like contain a VM that has like a malware infection, like to like stop lateral movement or like prevent shit from worming or whatever. Like, they put no thought into that. If you go through the entire AWS Workspaces documentation, they don't tell you how to do that. I spent the longest time just nuking people from orbit before I eventually realized you could actually apply like a containment security group to an elastic network interface, which oddly enough isn't even done through Workspaces. It's done through the EC2 console. But like, there's a lot of like simple things like that they didn't tell anybody about. And I've spent this entire last 7 months just like frantically Googling and like trying to get a hold of someone at Amazon who's actually, I managed to do, but they NDA'd me. Which it was really hard to get a hold of that one guy, but there's literally one guy who will actually call himself a forensics expert and actually said to me like factually X or factually Y.
Well, and that's
So
like
they-
Sorry, go ahead, DNZ.
No, you go.
I was going to say that's what really bothers me about cloud and fast is access controls and like what level of security. Like, it's not something that's actively marketed to, and I think that's like why we're all kind of here collectively like preaching this stuff, is because it needs to be. Like, if you can preach security in a cloud and fast, that's going to help your market out a hell of a lot more than what it currently is. Ease of use is one thing, yes, but when you're dealing with people that are as detailed as all of us here attending are, I see that as being an end game for a cloud provider. Like, if someone can do that, it's going to be a nail in the coffin, especially if they can make it easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like just considering like the risk that like security poses to businesses these days, it's like a commodity. Like, you can't afford good infosec people, and if you can't afford the one good guy, he's busy training like 6 others, right? And everyone's busy like researching like simple like one-off things like, how do I contain an AWS workspace? The first 5 times I called them, they said just nuke it.
So if I understand, like, so what you're saying is like at a base level is you've got workspaces, you deploy a new workspace, and it throws it into one single VPC or one single subnet, or like on a compute instance that can you see and control that compute like that VPC, or is it just sort of like blind?
What you're normally doing with VPCs is like allowing inbound and outbound traffic on a VPC too. So you say like what's allowed where and why, and whether or not using your own in-house port traffic, that's a different story. But you can also do that as well via TCP or UDP. So,
but I mean, like, so when we're talking about keeping workstations in containers and stuff, so remove like basically having like an isolated workstation that has a limited set of resources and can't access the workstations in the VPC along with it, or in the subnet along with it.
And if you wanted to do that, you'd set up a separate like VPC and security group traffic to go in and out of.
Like every goddamn time. Like, so we're talking about like if you wanted to do it for every workstation so that workstations couldn't share traffic directly, that's what you'd have to do.
You're right, and you're laughing under your voice, but yeah, that's the way it'd be. As of right
I'm
now,
not laughing. I'm thinking like that's a huge that's a huge opportunity for them to build something where you want 5 developers and you only want the 5 developers to access Git and not the internet, and they've got to log in from the internet. Like, imagine that type of scenario.
That's another thing too, though, because you can think about it on different levels. You can think about it on like port or IP traffic, or you can think about it on AIM and using AWS CLI to access it. That's it's a smart way to think about it, and it's one way to not jump into the gun, and it's a smart way to analyze what you're doing and why.
So Amazon Web Services, I've always thought of it as more like walking into a hardware store and not knowing what you've needed, versus like walking into like somewhere and getting like a screwdriver, which I don't really know where that other somewhere would be, but like like it's really like open. Like there's really like it's just like a whole bunch of shit that they kind of made and they never really gave it a specified purpose, and they've kind of left it to you to engineer the solutions. And when I'm thinking about virtualization, right, like things are often built on top of each other. Like images get copied around all the fucking time in organizations. Like I know when we migrated, we like initially we had like segmentation for local admins, right? Like there was a Canadian group and a US group, and then we migrated to workspaces and we just kept those groups, right? And they were available on both systems. So like anyone who had US local admin was a local admin on the same box as anyone with Canadian local admin, which was on the same box as anyone with the new group. And that's just because they just kept copying shit around, right? Like, and that's because there's really no like single best practices guide. Well, there is, but it's shit. But like, there's really no set best practices or like functionality.
Why is this shit?
It's because like there's no way to really look at it and say like you're using it wrong, like because it's just so open ended.
Is there some way to say like it's not, like it's not correct for this matter? Is it because you're like time constrained? And you say like this shit because X, Y, Z.
Like kind of a bit of both. Like what I'm saying is like think of concrete, right? Like no one's gonna tell you you're using concrete wrong when you're like whether you pour a sidewalk or a road.
Oh, yeah, if
right?
you're Mexican, I'm not gonna tell you how to pour it. So go ahead.
Okay, but like what I'm saying is like like think of AWS like just like a big fucking thing of concrete, right? Like no one's gonna tell you like, hey,
granular details of how to do it.
Yeah, right. Like they're just giving you like a toolbox and saying like you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, and if you throw this at the wall, you're gonna dent it. Like so, just don't throw shit at the wall, right? Which is to speak like actual not nonsense, right? Like don't open RDP to the internet, right? Like that's just basic sense. They wouldn't tell you like leave a work. They wouldn't tell you not to leave a workspace like just running exposed to the internet with like no ACLs though, right? Like. You see what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, that brings me to another question. Like, what do you see as the level of detail to support that you're given or guidance that you're given in cloud infrastructure? Do you see it as being effective with AWS, or do you see that as kind of being the back burner for them?
Is AWS effective?
I know it's effective. I'm just asking you, like, from a support standpoint, do they give you damn good keys and things to go off of, or are they schlepped?
So the support team, no. Like the first time I called Amazon Web Services, I'm like, hey, I have this forensics question, and I was having some issues with some memory dumping shit. And the guy's like, I asked the guy like, do you know someone I could talk to who would be able to give me like advice? And he said like, I don't know what forensics is. And then I kept like going down. I'm like, okay, like here's what I'm trying to do. Let me explain it differently, or let me explain it to someone else maybe. And like it just kept getting escalated around and around, and nobody actually would give me an answer. And that was
it sounds
really
familiar to vendor support, right?
Yeah, it really is just shit vendor support. But at the same time, to give AWS support credit, last night I had a call with them at like 10 p.m. I was trying to least privilege an IAM role because I was going to publish my project to GitHub for like some basic like workspace IR automation. And when I was trying to like get the role working, I had some bug, and he managed to help me out pretty quickly. Like the guy was knowledgeable and he was able to debug it. But when I'm thinking about it, like he was trained for that, right? Like he's got training for debugging IAM roles.
Yeah, he knows the terminology to feed you as far as bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to a matter of like forensics though, which is like more like complicated than a bread box, even to the extent that I, as someone who's here like trying to talk about it, is barely doing it, right? How can I expect support at Amazon, like just some random dude to be able to do that? It's
You can't really. Like that's what I've come to find out at the end of the day is like you can't sit there and grind on specifics with these people because they don't know exactly what they're doing. And I think that's AWS's like downfall, because if you're a very technical person, you're asking very technical questions, they don't have a response for you. They're going to give you something general and something that's full of shit. And I've been using it for I don't know, like 3 or 4 years now, and that's what I've come to find out is like a lot of the time you just kind of get passed around and you get fed up with it and you end up closing something that shouldn't be closed or something that, should be left open.
Yeah, like I grew up in like the cloud generation, right? So like I barely even remember a time before cloud. So this is just like secondhand to me. Like it's like second nature. Like I grew up in AWS, right? So it's always just been like one of those things that's just there for me, and it's always just been the same. I haven't seen an improvement in AWS's quality of service since I actually remember using AWS.
That's a damn good point to like bring up, because like where do they go from here and what do they do? Because like I feel the same way you do. There's a lot of times where I ask for very specific things and nobody can provide me an answer, and I get passed around between like 3 to 4 different techs and nobody knows. And it bothers the fuck out of me, to be honest. And I think it's important that we're on Twitch as a platform, because I think this is something that they'll actually, hopefully at some point take to heart. But it bothers me from a technical standpoint that these people aren't trained to a granular knowledge of being in one specific service or one specific product. And I've had people that have worked with me individually who have like been passed on and they work on their specific products. So the way that Amazon does things is they'll have a team of like 10 to 20 people, and they'll have a team of 10 to 20 people that know exactly what the fuck they're doing. But when you're dealing with support as a whole, or you're dealing with trying to adopt something, it becomes a rough time.
Yeah, like I'm very lucky that I have contacts now at AWS that I can like reach out to and like ask those questions, but that's not the case for everybody else, right? And that's like kind of what I was hoping to get out of this project I've been working on is like once I leave this place, which I actually did accept a new offer recently, so I'm going to be leaving in the coming months. But I want to like leave with this published, because like I want somebody to at least be able to Google for like these basic things that AWS support hasn't covered.
Right. And that's the importance of having a personal blog as well, is what you're saying, as far as how you translate terminology and what people adopt. Like I think that's very important. And I think that anybody listening that has half a fucking brain should be posting their own content for the good damn reason of having other people understand what they're going through and, the rough growing pains or scaling or whatever it may be.
Yeah, not even that.
One thing you might want to take an opportunity to do is plug your blog or site that you're going to be posting this on pretty soon.
I would plug my site, but I'm almost pretty sure that my HTTPS cert is invalid right now, so I'm not going to embarrass myself.
Okay, we'll post it afterwards.
Thank you.
And you're good there, because to be honest, I understand the day grind and it's just fucking shit show.
Yeah, like I was too fucking stupid to set up like Let's Encrypt Auto Renew, which is like a one-liner cron job, and now every 3 months when I need it for one time, I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't use this if I don't want to look like a dick.
Look like a dick anyway. It's fine. It's all growing pain.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Another thing, like, I just want to put this out there, like, for anyone listening, like, if you have the chance to speak up about these common mistakes, like, definitely do it and be very vocal. Like, my help desk, when I came here, the first day, I looked through all of their docs and I'm like, why the fuck are we giving out view connection server details? This should be like printed on a card and given to you at your desk, right? And they're like, oh, it's so that you can Google it. Like, so that other fucking people can Google it too? Like, why? And that's something that I don't just see at one place. I see it at so many places. If you're looking for some easy shit to pwn, like, don't bother going through the complicated methods. Just what's it called? Like, just Google like for help desk documentation. Just see what you can find. This was one of the first things that I learned about, like, before I was even like technical per se. Like I was reading some stories about like hacking in the 90s, and their first step was always like go through help desk documentation because there's always so much information there. And once you have that basic information, like view connection servers, it's so easy to fish for credentials and just log in through the front door that people don't often log. Like it's literally just like fucking walking in. So like, yeah, if you see these things, like call it out, like because they need to be called out.
And you should call it out. And to be honest, I appreciate you as being an AWS, admin, engineer, whatever you want to say about it. It's important that people like you are in front of the front line with others such as myself and provide guidance and give people the good grasp of terminology or even entry level that they should have as far as migrating to something better. As far as not being able to rely on, simple hardware configurations or failover clusters or, whether it be VMware, Hyper-V stacks, whatever they have. Yeah, I appreciate you and the content you have to post. So I would very much so appreciate if you would post your own blog and pump what you do.
Yeah, I do have a blog. I definitely will be writing some stuff up just when I get around to it.
Yeah, we'll make sure to post it.
Thanks. Yeah. What else was I gonna say? Explaining VDI to users, it can be hard. Sometimes you gotta make up like stupid analogies. I think I spoke earlier about like how my users are like powering down their thin clients, expecting it to have the same effect as like powering down a physical machine. Like nobody was able to explain it to them before I came to this place because they were looking for like a not stupid explanation. And unfortunately, sometimes you just got to give stupid problems stupid answers. Like I called it a mirror box. Like this one guy, he just couldn't like wrap his head around anything, right? And like this is a mirror box. When you look at this screen, you're just looking at a mirror. Your computer is like way the fuck in Virginia, bro. Like just let me do the hard stuff. Just do what I'm telling you. You're gonna have an easy time, right? And like once I said that to him like that bluntly, it just made sense to him because he just started just doing it and he didn't even notice like the difference, right? But sometimes like when you're looking to give a really professional explanation of something, it's harder. It's like significantly harder. And like sometimes like it takes that one like teenage asshole like me who will just tell you, yo, it's a mirror box, you're not looking at it, just fucking click the buttons before people will get it.
And you're not the asshole either. Like, to be honest, that reflects back on what we were talking about earlier, and like what I think the bigger problem is being generational gaps and being able to put this shit as simply as possible on a technical level that you can think of and passing it on to other people. And even these other people, like you could put it as simplistic in your own head as you fucking want to be. But the point is, like, in the time we're growing up, and the fact is that people who have capitalized as a service, like, they don't actually grasp what the fuck you're doing or what the fuck you're saying. So it doesn't matter how simple you put it. Like we can think it's the easiest thing, this is sliced cake for you. Like, go ahead and pass it on if you want, but it's so like demoralizing, and it fucking beats you up inside because you produce documentation for people, or you give people documentation that you think is like the best thing they've ever seen, and they can't even comprehend it.
Yeah, that like when people don't read the docs either, that really fucking pisses me off. Like I wrote a full book in Confluence. Like so when I came to this place, they had all of their run books and shit that were
and all of a
written
sudden
in, like,
you're an autist, right?
Yeah, and like all of a sudden, like literally, I've written this novel and I've told them all these great things. When I leave, I know I'm like I'm gonna get audited, right? Because like we get audited like quarterly. Eventually someone's gonna ask like, where did this guy go? Why aren't we following these procedures? Like, just fucking read. It's so basic, right? Like, and when users don't do it, that's one thing. When an engineer doesn't do it, that's another thing. But like when you're actually like looking for a solution to a problem in a time that you need it, and you're not willing to go to the one place that everything is documented first, it kind of makes me wonder like what's going on in your head, like.
No, that's true. That's very true. So I want to ask you a personal question, and this is
Sure.
something you have to give me an answer to. But where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Are
Are you still working for other people being the key?
So that's a tricky question because like in a professional setting, I've always said like I don't know because I don't want to like close down doors in my career.
Oh, fuck
But
the doors, man.
yeah, like
Not
here's the
gonna
thing
get
though,
you very
like
far.
I don't consider myself like a professional anything, right? Like literally 2 years ago, I wasn't infosec. I was just some guy that knew how to use computers.
But at the same time,
right?
you're talking to us about PC over IP to a cloud, so you should think about this kind of.
Yeah, right. So where do I actually see myself? I've always envisioned in a few years I'd own a business of some kind. When I was younger, I dabbled in some other businesses. Like I used to like flash like stolen phones and like resell them, like things like that. But yeah, but like I don't really know like where I'm gonna end up. Like literally, there was a point where I was like homeless, like on the streets, and I had no choice but to do IR, right? And I ended up working at a telco, like the biggest one in the country. So I really can't tell you where I'm gonna end up.
And that happens too, but how do you feel internally as far as what you know and what you've learned?
Internally, I gotta be honest, I'm fucking pissed off. Like computers aren't even fun anymore.
Yeah.
Like there used to be this time where like when I was doing like game modding and stuff, like it was actually fun. And like I actually like if I seen a bug and I fixed it, or like if I broke something, I laughed about it. But now I'm just like, huh, shit, okay.
It's the usual. It's what you've come to expect, right? From, a layer perspective or whatever you're
Yeah.
deploying.
Kind of like when you're like on a website and you accidentally SQL injection and you see that there's like error logging, you see the query and shit, and you're like, oh fuck, I actually just wanted to get to the article.
Yeah. Funny story, like that actually happened to me one time. I was trying to do a SQL injection one time to like demonstrate something like to some dev at work, and I ended up
Some
like
fucking dev.
yeah, and I actually fucked up like what I was trying to do with SQL, but I found XSS like in my mistake. Like it's just things like that that make me like really depressed and like
It makes
not
you cringe,
wanna.
man, because like I do like I do red teaming and I do like automation too, and I can tell you guys like straight up, I ran a fucking pen test on a site today, and I was going through it, and I found 60 fucking pages that were susceptible to cross-site scripting, and it's so demeaning. Like you wonder why the fuck you're sitting in this seat right now, and why the fuck you were the one that came across this, and why you're trying to reinvent the wheel when no one else is.
Yeah, like when sorry, I actually forgot my comment.
Good. Select, if you will.
Hey, so there's a question from Twitch for you then. There's Michael Jackson, are you in a position where you have creative control over your projects at work, or no, you just sort of follow?
Yeah, actually, I'm in a very good position at work. So, just from an organizational structure and from like an actual like, how do I say it, like social structure. So I don't report directly to anybody in the IT or software department, like even the C-level executives. I report directly to a C-level executive, so I can actually say whatever the fuck I want. Like I work in a financial in the middle of financial districts. Like when you're thinking about like lame companies, this is one of the most average companies you could work for. I show up in jeans every day. Everyone knows me as like the teenager who does crazy shit with computers. I'm usually pretty fucking blem in the morning still from the night before, right? I show up at like 10, but I work pretty late. As far as projects, I literally just get up and like just do whatever the hell I want. Like this one day, I decided to wake up and just do asset inventory. So I just went to work at like, it was like 2 a.m. or something. And everyone walks in the next day and they see everything's like torn up. Like the closets are emptied. Like I have shit on the floor everywhere. I look like a madman. But like overnight, I completely did like an asset inventory of one site. And it was just completely random. But the shit that I found laying around was just absurd. And I posted it in the Slack the whole time. And I'm like tagging the chief information officer. I'm like, did you know there's a molding sandwich mixed in with all of this computer gear? and like I'm just like there's this box, right, and there's like RAM sticks and like crap like that in there, and like cables. I just shoved my hand in to like empty it and like lift stuff up and like throw it on the floor, and I touched something weird. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I'm like pulling it apart, right? Like it looked like I'm like digging through shit, and I found a moldy sandwich in this box of computer gear. Like this is the type of stuff that you deal with in like an actual IT organization.
And
Like
you pick up that sandwich and you think, man, the past guy must have been at least 300
Yeah.
pounds.
Yeah, literally. like things like that. Like I just randomly do it, and then like I'll call people out on their bullshit too. Like I got in an argument with somebody in Slack one day, and I just roasted them and just made them look like a douche, right? Because like I didn't even know how else to respond to them. So
You did it while you were slacking, so it makes it all the more merrier.
Yeah, like so like I can do a lot. I'm really free. But at the same time, I am trapped. Like I feel like I'm selling my youth to a company that it doesn't matter.
Do you get, yeah. Do you get centered in on like specific issues or problems? Do you feel like a lot of the time?
What do you mean?
Like I don't know. For instance, like I was dealing with VSS today, and like VSS writers, and dealing with just backup and redundancy.
Oh,
problems.
you mean like do I get like shit to do like daily? Like
No. I mean like. Is there stuff that's put on your plate that isn't the end game or the most beneficial to you as a person or as an employee?
100%. Like I'm the email admin, the DNS admin, some like 5 other admins, and it's just because I'm the only one that knows how that shit works, and it sucks. Like people like we implemented Mimecast, right? And it was a really solid deployment. Shout out to my colleague who did it.
What do you use for that hardware-wise? Can I ask you? Because like this is stuff I've kind of dealt with, so I'll kind of dig into you a little bit where I can. But
for Mimecast,
yeah,
it's cloud like SaaS.
Okay.
Yeah, but we did Mimecast, and the users don't understand it. When you start fucking with their emails, they get pretty upset, right? But we're the ones who wanted Mimecast, so now I'm the email admin, and people they'll
congratulations, you've been promoted with no bonus.
Yeah, like they'll be in like some email thread with like 5 other companies, right? And company one's supposed to send us these documents, and they always the way that people send that's another issue like to get down, but like the way people send documents to each other in the business world, it literally reads like a phishing email.
Yeah, you like Dropbox, bro?
Yeah, no, literally, they'll be like, please see the relative attached
I know.
document.
I'm saying that like
yeah.
I'm not bullshitting you.
But what I was getting down with that, so like yeah, just because we're the ones who implemented Mimecast, now I'm the fucking email admin, and like people they'll lose their like emails or they won't receive it in the next 5 seconds after they heard they'd get it, and they're like, oh, it's the Mimecast. Justin, fix the Mimecast, right? Like that's not like what I want to be doing, but like that's
fix
it.
the Mimecast. It's not because I'm a fucking retard. It's because you fucked something up.
Yeah, like it's not fucking broken. This is how it's intended to work. Read my documentation. Read the email I sent you telling you how this works.
Where do you send me? Is there a SharePoint server you have stood up?
I'll give you fucking Braille card. You can like rub that shit.
I love it, man. I love how I can relate to you so easily. It's genuine as fuck. I'm not shitting on you by any means. I just know that you've been through the same bullshit, so.
Yeah, because like everyone's got to go through it. Like, you know, I remember when I was really young, I used to like watch these videos of like the InfoSec rock stars like talk about shit, and it was like I wouldn't even watch TV or whatever the hell other people watched at the time. I was just watching these videos, and I'd hear people talk about InfoSec, and I'm like, man, this is going to be such a dandy field to work in. But like, hell no. Like, unless you're like some CISO or some like useless charlatan person that they just pay as a scapegoat, you're not having fun. Once you're having fun in InfoSec, that means your ass is a fucking scapegoat or you're an intern.
Yeah, you're in the wrong. Like, and I think that's another important standpoint. Like, I went to DEF CON for the first time this year, and I've been working in information security and information technology for the past like decade. So I go to this and I see what all the talks are about, and I see what all the people have to say. And to be honest, it's more persona and flex than anything. Like I think that what really fucking sucks is that a lot of these people are extroverted to the point where they're so fucking numb that they can produce information. And what they say is valued to other people because of how young these people are. And that really bothered the fuck out of me. And I'm not like a speaker, and I probably won't ever be, because I find it so demeaning as far as what these people say and what they produce. It's just general practice to me. Do you feel the same way? Is there something that you feel like you could uniquely produce to an audience on such a structure, or?
I will call out bullshit, and I will talk exactly like I'm talking here. As in case you couldn't tell, I'm not a speaker. I
couldn't tell. You fooled me. Damn.
Yeah, damn. But like, it's just the honesty of it, right? Like, some of the best talks I've seen are the people who are being straight up honest with their audience, and they're not the ones who aren't trying to look like some genius hacksaw pro, whatever the hell you want to be. Like, really, it's just like the honesty. Like, on a technical content level, I think I could do anything that I dedicate myself to and that I put my time to, and I put my like heartfelt effort in. So I don't think that like there's any one field or any one subject that I wouldn't be able to eventually get around to. Kind of the reason I like IR is because I get to do so much random shit all the time. But really, I'm just gonna do the same thing. And if people like what I offer, then great, you can have it.
Right, then roll with it, man. But to be honest, like, I feel like nothing as far as what was produced or what was given as far as content was valuable per se. I figure it was all basic knowledge that, you know, I've known for a long time, and maybe that's my own fault because I never went to college. I've learned this stuff from a very young age. So, like,
Yeah,
what people
I
were
dropped
saying
out
and
of college.
preaching about was just total garbage to me.
Yeah, like I don't go to cons usually. There's one con I always frequent Circle City Con, but there was this one group of people I was hanging out with, and I was just like read only mode that time. Like I didn't want to deal with like CDFs or anything. Like I just wanted to chill with people and just like get drunk and like go home, right? And I was talking to this one guy who was speaking, and someone asked him like why he's speaking, and he's like, because I want to show everybody that I am the best red teamer in the entire industry. And I'm
That's
like,
a fucking
well,
meme in itself.
yeah, and like I didn't want to call him out because like he's working at some big name company and he probably could like do circles around me, but like I knew it was bullshit, right? And I didn't go to the talk.
I feel like the guy who is the best red teamer in the whole goddamn world doesn't say anything about it.
Yeah,
Well,
like why the
fair.
fuck did
You
say
know,
that?
you know what? I gotta interrupt.
Exactly.
I gotta drop a name. One researcher, someone out of Oklahoma. He's gonna go to prison for the next like 10 fucking years. But he built a botnet around and actually attacked Coinbase, and he's actually a very good fucking friend of mine. And I think it's total bullshit given these circumstances and morality of what he's doing now versus what he had done in the past. Being 20 years of age now and being 16 when he had built this thing, it's fucking demoralizing, man. Like, you see people grow up like this, just wanting to like make a difference and do the best that they can, and it's really fucked up to see what the judicial system does to them and the example that they make. And he's someone that will probably like never actually be anything in our eyes, but he's someone that's a visionary. He's someone that saw an opportunity and took it for what it was. And being at that age and not having the moral standpoint or moral compass that he was given it's pretty fucked up, man. It's fucked up to see someone locked up for the wrong fucking reasons.
Yeah, let me talk to that a bit actually. First off, peace to the homie. I wish him the best. But secondly, I think when you're persecuting kids for things that they did when they were kids, that is really fucked up. And like InfoSec should be calling people out for that. Like there's like a huge divide between like the hacking world and like InfoSec world these days. Like the actual InfoSec people, they need to start like calling out bullshit like that more. And you know, you see people that are like, oh, you can't do the crime, you can't do the time, don't do the crime, and or like Be like, oh, you shouldn't be using your skills for bad purposes, like shit like that. Like, yeah, but like I had no comprehension of what I was doing when I was a kid. Let me tell you a story. So when I was a kid, in high school, I found some bug in some website that let me get a whole bunch of PII for a bunch of the people in my region. And actually, I think it was most of my district. And I just never did anything about it. I was just like, cool, I'm a hacker, right? And then like a year later, I did this hackathon and I made some cool Python script. And my buddy at the time, who was like way older than me, like 30, we were just like chilling. We put it on GitHub, and eventually some local company, they wanted to like write off content, and like they wanted to like talk about how they helped us out and all that crap. And so yeah, cool, let's do it. Fast forward a bit, and I end up at this huge party, and it's this huge party with a whole bunch of professional people in like a professional setting, and there's an open bar. And I was 16 at the time, and everyone else is like solid, like don't even card them old enough, right? So naturally, I didn't get carded at the bar, and this is the first time I even drank, and I got shit faced, and I got pulled aside by somebody who was introducing me to somebody else. They wanted to offer me a job actually, and they're like, "So what have you done?" I'm like, "So I completely fucking pwned this one shit, right?" And like I just kept running my mouth. I had no clue who I was talking to, but it was actually the CTO of that same company. So like just on that note, right? Like
this is the way shit happens, though.
Yeah.
Like especially in infosec space. Like you're
yeah,
not
and
in the
like,
wrong here.
I was just some dumbass kid at the time, right? Like I didn't know what I was doing. And fast forward to when I was at the telco, I actually met somebody who got fired over that. And they barely like if they spoke to me for long enough, they might have eventually figured out that like it was me. Like they're asking me the right questions, because like it was just like literally like an in-person thing. But when you look at their LinkedIn, someone who hired them and they worked with closely was also at that company and left the same time, and they had a history of like getting each other jobs. And like you like see it just by like the history of like when someone like starts a position and then they bring on the other person starts a position, right? And like they switch jobs and like things like that. Like you just like it was just a pattern. You can just see it. It's like obvious. So, like I knew this person, and I was like, shit, you probably got fired over that, because a significant amount of people got fired because that guy was embarrassed. Now, that was just some dumb shit I did when I was a kid, right? I didn't fucking understand the implications of that, and I certainly didn't expect that to follow me years down the road. So learning from that, if you're listening out, just shut the fuck up. That's the best advice I can give you. You don't need to boast about anything. The second you start thinking about boasting about something, it's probably not worth boasting about. But
I think it's I don't mean to correct you, but I think it's worth boasting about in the proper sense. So if you're working for yourself, or if you have things that should be exploited, or if you have things that you think is best practice, or things that should be adopted, I think that that's a very strong feel for working for yourself and doing your own thing. I think that what's really fucked up about InfoSec and college degrees and going through schooling is you end up just working for the man and you learn to shut the fuck up. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it.
yeah, you're right, but in a different perspective. So like what I mean is don't say things that you would regret, and don't say things that you wouldn't say to your mother, for example.
Yeah,
Probably
only
think
give things to your boss that you want to give to your mother.
Right. Like that's the best way to phrase it. So you're right. Like if you're working for yourself, like you gotta be vocal about what you're doing, because like how else are you going to get attention? Like if your source of income is GoFundMe or Patreon or whatever, you gotta be talking about that stuff, or you're not making any fucking money. But at the same time, like if you did some like simple skid shit and you got like 100 people's user ID and password and whatever.
Don't talk about that, because you always want to be in the legal, the legal right sense of things. You don't want to be in the negative light of what's going on.
I think
Exactly.
what this is trying to say is shut the fuck up and get a lawyer. Or
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And you know what? You want to talk about like arrogant. So like my family actually were lawyers. So like there was this point in my childhood where I'm like, fuck, shit's not gonna happen to me. I'm a minor and my family's in the law business. I am A-okay. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want. And yeah, that was not a good idea.
I think there's a I don't know where it came from. You can't be famous and infamous at the same time.
It's very true. Well, yeah, dude. Hey, it's 11:30 here. It's time to wrap up the show, but I really want to thank you guys thank you, Michael Jackson, for coming on here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this has been a really interesting episode. I've been having a lot of fun listening to you and Zuff shoot the shit. So I hope you come back and join us more because we need people like you on here.
Thanks. Yeah, you guys know how to reach me if you ever want me to just come and ramble again.
No, you're coming back next week. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like I do watch the show. Like I've been watching I was in some IRC actually when you guys were like talking about it. I don't know what happened to the IRC now, but like it's a pretty good show. I like it.
We'll PM me the details about the IRC.
Oh, sweet. Thanks.
But thanks everybody for coming out. This has been an awesome show. We'll definitely get your information, your blog, when you update your cert.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys want to message me or ask for like Twitter or whatever, I don't mind giving it out. I just do case by case. Just like message me. Okay.
Yeah. So everybody else who's here who's still listening, thank you guys for listening. Thanks to you also for watching for a new way of doing things. Switching to just Twitch for now. New layouts, which I had to finish writing the script to do our music. But yeah, thanks everybody for participating in our chat and just being cool all around. Next week we'll have Freck coming on to talk about securing DevOps pipelines. I'm doing a lot of DevOps stuff lately, so it's up your alley too. But
welcome.
Yay.
So yeah, we'll be doing
next week.
Wait, what?
CICDs next week.
Yep, CICDs. So yeah, that'll be really awesome. So for now, though, you guys can see our links at the bottom of the screen there. We are on all of those platforms. Twitter, get at us on Patreon, as well as Instagram, Snapchat, and we do have a Pornhub. So you guys can come in and chat with us however you like to. Shout outs to all of our Patreon supporters, No Cookies, Harmony, Rob Pointers, and Sterling Archer. Thanks to everybody who subbed to today. And yeah, I mean, figure out
subs today. We should add that to the script so that we can thank people as they do that.
Oh yes, we will. Yeah, all this stuff is very proof of concept. It's boilerplate. I wrote it over the weekend, and we'll be tell us also if you guys are on any of these platforms you're on. Tell us if you did like or didn't like aspects of our new stream setup and everything, and we'll listen to you. So
yeah, but you did a damn good job, so pat yourselves on the back.
Hell yeah. Well, all right, everybody, thank you very much. We will see you next
in its entirety.
night.
All participants of this